Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode on long range perfection. Today we're going to talk about frequently asked questions, FAQs in long range shooting. There can be a lot of them. And let's get into the live action. Okay, so when it comes to long range shooting, most probably the frequent set of questions that I compiled into a list that we're going to answer today. And we're going to start off with question number 1. How do I successfully ring steel at 1,000 yards or 1,000 meters or even closer? It can be 500, it can be anything, but how do I ring steel at long distances? So to shoot steel at long distances, you have to have a good setup, good shooting technique, and a good reloading process. Your good setup, we covered that in the previous video. You guys can go back onto the channel. I have it linked down below as well in the description, where we cover the basics of this rifle that can successfully shoot 1,000 yards or 1,000 meters. But you have to have your rifle down first of all. But a good rifle is nothing without a proper reload. So if you want to shoot long distances, you are going to have to reload your own ammo. There is just not the consistency of the reloading process, the seating depth of the bullet, the powder that goes into the case in normal production ammunition. The only way you can get that consistency and get it tailored to what your gun likes is by reloading your own bullets. So that will come in a separate video, my whole reloading process and what I do to get an accurate bullet up until 1,000 meters. Third thing is your shooting technique. You have to be comfortable behind the trigger. You have to be at ease with your rifle. It has to become an extension of your arm to successfully shoot at 1,000 meters. Okay, so what is long range shooting in terms of distance? So shooting is primarily divided up into 3 categories, and I'm going to work with yards because that is the generally most accepted term. But from 0 to 300 yards is short range shooting. That is your normal shooting that you can do on a daily basis. Long range shooting stretches from 300 yards to about 1,200 yards, up until about 1,100 meters there around, or you can say 1,000 meters. That is what I would consider long range shooting, and this is where your PRS competitions take place. It's very rare that PRS competition will go up to or beyond 1,000 yards. But that is usually the range of targets that you're going to engage at long range shooting. And then we have a type of discipline in shooting we call ELR, which is extreme long range, and that is anything past 1,000 yards. You see people on YouTube like T-Rex and Mark and Sam after work doing 3,000 yard shots. That is definitely what we consider ELR, or extreme long range. Okay, this next question, that is quite a difficult one. What is the difference between range plinking and actual long range shooting technique? Range plinking is most of what most of us do. It's going to the range, you load up your magazine and you just sink bullets down range, and you have 1 or 2 misses and you walk the shot in and eventually you hit your target. Although it's very fun, it is what we call range plinking. Long range shooting technique handles on, can you hit your target on your first shot? If you shoot something like a competition, like a PRS competition, you're shooting stages and there is no time to walk in a bullet. You only have 12 shots, 12 rounds, and in that 12 rounds, you must get 12 hits or try your best to get 12 hits. So long range shooting technique handles around you have your gun nailed down, you have your dope, alright, it stands for data on previous engagement, which just means I know that if I shoot 600 meters, I dial this many clicks on my gun. If I shoot 700 meters, I dial this many clicks. If the wind blows like this, I know to hold this much for wind. You have to have all that down so that you can dial that solution into your scope and hit a target successfully on the first shot, and preferably follow it up with another shot. Okay, so this is a fun one, and this is more of a technical question. So what's the difference between MOA and what is sub-MOA? MOA stands for minutes of angle, and that is, in layman's terms, short terms, just a measuring tool that we use in shooting. So MOA means if my impact is 1 inch off at 100 yards, that is 1 MOA. So if I have an impact that's 3 inches off at 100 yards, that is 3 MOA, and I know I have to come back to the target 3 MOA. So if I shoot up 3 inches, I know I must come down 3 MOA on my scope. So what sub MOA means is over that distances, so because you move on at 200 yards, it's 2 inches. 1 MOA becomes 2 inches. And at 1,000 yards, 1 MOA becomes 10 inches. So what do we mean when we say sub MOA? You always hear people throwing around this term, my gun is a sub MOA gun. What does sub MOA mean? Sub MOA means that if I say my rifle stays sub MOA up until 1,000 meters or 1,000 yards, that means that in 1,000 yards, so if I put a target down at 1,000 yards, I can shoot a target and my group size of that 5 shots will be less than 10 inches. That means my gun still keeps true at 1,000 yards. You'll see, I know HOA guarantees a sub MOA group at 100 yards for their rifles, which means if you shoot at 100 yards, you will get a group size of less than 1 inch. Okay, so I put this question in, and it is a valid question. It is a question that gets asked quite a lot, but there's so many people that's going to argue with me on this. I don't really care. I like to engage with you guys in the comments. What caliber is the right caliber for long range shooting? There's no definitive answer. For me, the 6.5, it's wonderful. I love it. Okay, but is there better calibers? Yes, there is. Are they more expensive to shoot? They definitely are. But when we come to long range shooting, the calibers that people most frequently use is stuff like your 6mm BR for bench rest, very powerful round. You also get your 6mm dashes. Once again, very powerful round, very flat shooting, very good BCs, and those calibers can reach out to far distances without being affected too much by the wind. But that is the attainable caliber for the average shooter. Granted, if I had a bottomless pit of money and I wanted to burn all of it up, I would buy myself a 33XC or a 30XC. That is the ultimate caliber for long range shooting. You can shoot pinhole groups with that thing on 400 meters, but your barrel is only going to last 1,000 shots, and your ammo is going to cost you $30-40 per round reloaded to shoot the gun, which is not feasible in my eyes. So there's not really a range of calibers that is definitive, but I would say your 6.5 Creedmoor, 6mm Dasher, 6mm BR is very good. For the average guy, if you want to be a little bit more fancy, spend a little bit more, you can maybe look at your 6.5 PRC, although they are very pricey to reload. You can look at your 6.5 or 300 PRCs. Very good calibers, both of them made by Hornady, just like the 6.5. And if you really want a rifle and money is not an option, you can look at your 7mm Psalms, is a very good caliber. You can look at your XC calibers, very good. 338 Lapua Magnum is overrated in my eyes. So those are all the calibers that I would suggest. Does this rule out any other caliber? No, there's most probably hundreds of videos of a guy on YouTube shooting 1,000 meters with his 30-06, but to get the best results, I would suggest to go with one of those calibers. Okay, so this is also a fun one. But what is the essential gear to get started in long range shooting? There's a lot of hidden costs, 100%. It's not just building a rifle. In the previous video we saw, if you wanted to replicate this rifle with a silencer that I don't have on now, it's just over 30,000. But there is so much hidden cost, things that you don't think about. A safe, you need to keep your rifle in a safe. A safe is $5,000. Smaller stuff, if you think about a carry case, you need to carry your rifle somewhere. If you go to the shooting range, South African law states you can't carry your rifle openly in a public space. You must have it concealed within a bag or a carry case or something. That's going to run you another $1,000 or $2,000. And that's not even to think about the reloading equipment. If we think about a proper reloading setup, scales. So everything I'm mentioning here is $1,000. A scale is 2,000. Dies is 1,000 rand. A press is going to be 4,000 rand. And all these things you do need to get your gun successful and accurate. So just go do your homework on the dice that you want to use, the reloading process you want to follow, what you want to do with it. Obviously there is ways to do it cheaper. Like I said, the reloading video that's coming up, I'm going to elaborate more on my reloading process, the stuff that I use to reload, how do I anneal my cases, all of it done at the cheapest way possible with very good results. But just go take a good look at what you want to do with your reloading process and what you want to do with your whole setup in entirety to build yourself a framework of where you want to be. If you know that everything and all you have to have about 60,000 ready, that's an attainable goal. That's something that you can work towards and say, okay, I'm going to buy the rifle. It's going to take me 6 months to get my competency. It's going to get me 6 months to get my license. So within a year, I can start to gather the rest of the stuff, gather the press, the dies, the you can't buy powder or primers yet, but I can gather the cases, the bullets, scales, measures, everything. But there's definitely a lot of hidden costs. If you think about, you have to measure your bullets accurately, you have to have a good vernier, that's $1,000. So there's a lot of thousands that gets added on that you don't always think about, because it's not just picking up the gun, going to the range, smacking a bunch of rounds in it and just sending them down range. To get that pinpoint accuracy, there's one or two things behind it involved that we're going to cover in the reloading video. Okay, so this is then flows well with our previous question, and in this question we think about, what does it cost to get started in long range shooting? I would say for you to build a proper reloading setup with a proper press, sadly you do need a proper press. You can buy a set of Hornady dies that's brilliant for $1,000. Your press is going to run you about 3.5. If you get it on special, you can obviously buy secondhand as well, just as good as new. So there you're already at 4.5, and then you have to think about the small stuff like a scale. There's already, call it about 6,000 Rand total. Powder throwers, priming tools, all of that add up. I would say your reloading equipment can cost anywhere between 10 and 12,000 to get everything together. Our rifle we covered is about 25,000 minimum. Call it 30 for hidden costs. So there we're sitting at about 42,000, and then you must just buy your components, your cases, and which is about 2,000. You can obviously reuse them. You can reload a single bullet case up until 20 times. Your bullets that you need to buy, primers, powder, it costs around 16 Rand for me to reload a single round. So that's then the cost that continues. So all in all, not as much as you think. I know 42,000 sounds a lot, but if you look at the money that other people spend on their hobbies, people is no strangers to buying 150,000 Rand boats secondhand to go fish on, or they are no stranger to pay 30,000 Rand for a set of golf irons. So it can be expensive, definitely, if you make it, but in the long run, if you think about it, it's really not that expensive to have a hobby that's really fun. Okay guys, so I hope this answered a few of the common questions that there is. Obviously the comment section is always open. You can look at my previous video. I've commented on every single comment, so please pop your questions down below. I'll take all the time that's necessary, and I'll sit and I'll type a well-formulated response for you, and I'll continue typing responses until you understand. So let me know down in the comments what questions you guys have, what you thought about the video, and keep an eye out for the following videos to come. I'm going to take you guys a bit to the range and get some proper action in there, and I think the next few videos that's going to come is going to be proper bangers. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really love every single one of you, and I appreciate you watching the video and sticking here with us. I'll see you in the next one.